Alright, what's going on, guys? So Metroid Prime 4 has finally revealed a new trailer after a long wait, giving us the long-awaited release date, as well as new gameplay, showing off a new primary feature of the game, and I gotta be honest, I think this latest trailer did more harm than good. And there's one very big and glaring reason for that, and I'm gonna break it down. But first, Metroid Prime is my favorite game series of all time, Metroid Prime 2 being my favorite game of all time. Now, of course, this is a Souls-like channel. We primarily cover the Souls games and From Software news here, but I'm sure you've been able to tell all the branding on this channel is Metroid Prime themed. I base the name on something that would sound like a Metroid Prime boss. I care about these games very deeply. I've been waiting 16 years for Prime 4. I want nothing more than for this game to be everything we imagined it would be. And frankly, based off everything I've seen up until now, I thought it was. But this last trailer has left a very sour taste in my mouth, and I'll explain why. But as we get started, if you're hyped for Metroid Prime 4, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and now let's get into it. Alright, so let's take a deep dive into this trailer. This was the latest gameplay of Metroid Prime 4 shown off in last week's Nintendo Direct, and I waited a little bit to cover this because I wanted to sit on it. I wanted to make sure the initial bad impression I had of this trailer was actually how I truly felt, and not just some skepticism because it looked unfamiliar. The big draw of this trailer is what you're seeing on screen, the new motorcycle that Samus rides, which seems to be some sort of traversal mechanic for what looks like a big desert open field. And this is where my heart sank a little bit seeing this, and I'm just gonna come out and say it. This right here, what you're seeing on screen, looks absolutely terrible. I'm not looking at Metroid Prime here, and I know I'm not the only one that felt that way. I watched several reactions. Many people thought we were looking at Samus in Mario Kart, and that's for one very glaring and simple reason. The graphics here are straight up bad. This looks like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and immediately in the next scene, where Samus is traversing this new cave area, it looks like a completely different game. We're back to crisp 4K textures, tons of detail. This is Metroid Prime, and to be totally honest, every other part of this trailer except that desert looks absolutely fantastic. I love what I'm seeing right here. This looks like the next evolution of the Metroid Prime genre. It's dark, it's gritty, especially this cinematic shot walking across this icy bridge. The mood here is amazing. If you just showed me that, I would be over the moon about Metroid Prime 4. But let's break down this, because it's not just how this looks. Everything about this scene in this part of the trailer goes against Metroid Prime. Now, first of all, I don't necessarily have a problem with the motorcycle itself. The design is actually pretty cool, but every moment in the Metroid Prime trilogy where you're not gun up, anticipating what's around the next corner, is the worst part of the games. The ship traversal in Metroid Prime 3 was a big low point for me, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way. So if the motorcycle itself does not take up much of the actual time spent adventuring in the world, I don't think it's going to be a big issue. But there's a part of this that makes me think that it will be. And take a look at this. In this shot here, as Samus is riding off towards the sun, you can see two things. On the left, we have this long bridge going into a storm, and on the right, we have this very lush forest. These are very clearly two of the major biomes that we'll be exploring in the game. The one on the left appearing to be this long bridge that we can see Samus riding the bike across. Fantastic looking area. I love everything that we've seen about this place so far. And the one on the right, the big forest, looks to be the initial biome that was shown when Metroid Prime 4 was announced. Well, when the gameplay was shown after the long, several-year wait. And like the other biome, individually, these look fantastic. These look like ideal Metroid Prime exploration zones. But being able to see these communicates that this desert is likely a sort of big open field that will be the connecting tissue between these exploration zones. And what do you notice here? It is almost completely empty. It looks like you might encounter a few enemies here and there, maybe one small base or two to kill some enemies, maybe get an upgrade. But if you're a long-time Metroid Prime trilogy player, what should immediately come to mind is, why? That goes against the core of Metroid level design that was established even in the first game. Nothing in these games is empty. The formula for every single Metroid game in the franchise's history has always been explore the world room by room, finding secrets, solving puzzles, and combing over every square inch so that you don't miss anything and you have the tools to overcome the bosses and challenges in your way. Metroid games revolutionized level design with extreme density and extreme interconnectivity. When you take any of those elements away, the game starts to not feel like Metroid. That was why the planet hopping in the ship in Metroid Prime 3 felt pretty bad. To suddenly introduce this big open field with little to no purpose besides getting from point A to point B, that is a giant speed bump in the flow of the game and exploration. If we look at a world like Metroid Prime 2, for example, every biome had at least 3 different shortcuts to get to the other biomes of the world, and backtracking was very important, which is why when you found a shortcut like that, for example from Torvus Bog back to Agon Wastes, it was an extremely rewarding feeling. It made your exploration worthwhile in more ways than one. So if this desert is what it looks like, that's going to be taking away a major element of Metroid exploration. Now, do I think there's not going to be any shortcuts from biome to biome? No, surely they wouldn't go that far. And it does look like portals are going to play some sort of role in this game, so that is a good sign. However, we haven't seen any shortcuts yet, and I'm sure there are going to be plenty of times where you do have to cross the desert to get to your next objective. But here's the problem with even that. Aside from massive open space, to go from an area like this, with super high definition textures and detail, and tons of aura and mood, to this extremely underdeveloped, empty, generic desert, is immediately going to kill any immersion you had on your adventure. And I didn't even mention the animations of the bike itself. This looks completely unfinished, and I kinda think it is. If you look really closely right here, there's literally no transition animation from the bike being stationary to this super powered boost or whatever. Not even a single frame. This is not the quality we've come to expect from the Metroid Prime games. And it's not the quality we've seen in literally every other scene of this game. The Metroid Prime games have always been the peak of what was capable of the hardware they're on. Metroid Prime 1 and 2, and to a lesser extent 3, are absolute masterpieces top to bottom. Games that still hold up to this day. Whatever this desert is, it does not reflect the Metroid Prime brand. I mean, this really looks like they just took some default desert from an asset store and threw it into the game. There is nothing about this that communicates Metroid Prime, especially in context of the other biomes we've seen that look so well done and full of personality. I don't know what's going on here. I really don't. And I really question why they showed this. There were some rumors going around about some development trouble. I'm not sure there's really any credibility to that, but even the placement of this trailer in the direct was weird too. It was kind of just shoved in the middle with no mention before or after. And with Metroid Prime 4 being such a flagship game for the Switch 2, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You know, I hope we get a full dedicated direct for this game. We really need one. I think we will, but I just hope this aspect of the trailer looks a whole lot different in the final product, because what was shown right now is not done. But like I said, everything else amazing. I cannot wait to finally play this game after almost 2 decades of waiting. That's partially why I wanted to come on here and rant about this a little bit, because I am entirely way too obsessed with Metroid Prime. But y'all let me know down in the comments, do you think it looks good? Do you think it looks bad? Do you agree with what I brought up, or do you completely disagree? Either way, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you're excited for Prime 4 down below, and with all that, I will catch you in the next one.